Now, as Prime Minister, I intend to be forthright with Canadians about the threats we face. I will reinvigorate Canada's role in the alliances we share with our democratic allies. This includes existing alliances like NORAD, NATO, the Commonwealth, La Francophonie, and the Five Eyes. But it will also include greater overtures to India and Japan. I will find a way for Canada to be relevant factors in the domestic affairs of our allies in a world where the sentiments of self-interest are on the rise. We see this happening in many, many countries where domestic political movements force a change in that country's foreign policy with a greater focus on that country's own self-interest. So Canada must do everything we can to factor in even more in that domestic calculation. We have to be as important as ever before to ensure that our allies are with us when we face challenges around the world. We also have to fight against the growing sentiment of protectionism that comes along with some of these movements. And I will reject that sense of putting up trade barriers and relentlessly pursue new efforts to increase trade and find new markets for Canadian goods in fast-growing economies like those found in Asia. I've already begun this important work with trade missions to India and the United Kingdom in the last 18 months. And I will also work with all parties in Parliament to depoliticize the military procurement process so that Canada isn't empty-handed when called upon. My vision for military procurement in Canada is to depoliticize it in such a way that all parties in the House of Commons have greater say on the front end of the decision-making process so that there can be greater ownership of the final result. That way, big ticket items that our armed forces genuinely need aren't subject to some of the political football games that happen during election times. I will also deal with China with eyes wide open. I will look for ways to strengthen our relationships and open new markets, but with the understanding that at this critical juncture, we need to show strength and resolve above all else. If this government isn't willing to stand up to China when 2 Canadians are unlawfully imprisoned and billions of dollars in trade is under attack, it never will. My goal is better relations. My goal is more economic opportunity, but that can only come after we make a stand, and I will.